And we are back at it again. Welcome, everyone, to our episode 16 of our podcast, The Gore Horror Hour. I am Absinthe Widow along with
eRock.
Chaotica here.
And we have the absolute pleasure in having our very special guest, Brett Big Schwag.
Wagner.
That's right. How are you?
I like your intro to your show. I love that. Whoever did the video there is pretty cool. Nice, very nice.
Thank you.
That looks good. It's sharp, professional.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So very good, sir.
I know. I thought it was great. Very creative. So, we are in our 10-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
The Gorgeous Girls have been around 10 years, and I've been a part of that for 6 years now. And it's only getting better. It's been an amazing opportunity, and we are very excited. And that being said, we are currently on our 59th issue of our magazine.
Wow.
Yeah, 59. And on the cover of this month's issue is Miss Kitty. And oh my goodness, is she a sight for sore eyes. She is back. She's back from retirement. She was gone for a while. She is back and getting all bloody for us all over again, and we're loving every second of it. And our next issue will be out in July, so you guys can look forward to that. Always go to gorgeousgirls.com and check out our magazine section and have fun.
Now let me ask you guys a question. So is this a video magazine? So if they go to the website, or you actually, if I go and I want a subscription, you'll send me a hard copy?
You can have a digital or a hard copy, either or.
Pretty cool.
Yep. And in fact, if you buy a hard copy, you automatically get a digital for free.
Wow, that's not a bad deal at all.
Wait so long and seeing all the goodies.
Yep.
All right. And I also want to throw out there, I don't know if you're a burlesque liker or not, but I am a burlesque performer, and I just recently created my new burlesque group, Sanglante Magnifique, which means bloody gorgeous. So I am recruiting talented performers. So if anyone would like to join my burlesque troupe, just find me on Facebook, Absinthe Widow, or go directly to the Facebook page for Sanglante Magnifique. We'd be happy to put you on our stage.
It's a mouthful.
You know, in Los Angeles, we've had over the last, I would say, 10, 15 years, maybe 15 years ago, it was a big deal. All of a sudden, burlesque was the big deal. There was a couple. I worked at a bar that became a burlesque bar that would do, nightly shows, like 7 days a week, and they would have shows, and it was a regular bar, but they did the burlesque thing. So burlesque is great, especially if it's oh, look at, she's already getting ready over there. Yeah. So if it's done properly, it's very entertaining. It's, obviously very sassy and sexy, and it can be fun. It could be a fun date, right? If you bring your wife or your girlfriend and get to go see the coolness.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Definitely. So you're ready for the questions?
Let's go.
Awesome. Mr. Brett Wagner, the Big Schwag, how did you get involved into acting, and how long have you been acting?
So I am 56 years old. I probably, oh God, I gotta keep that down a little bit further. I shaved because I'm filming tomorrow. I Spill Your Guts Part 2, a James Balsamo film, and I had to shave because I'm supposed to be like some kind of secret agent. And I usually have a long goatee, but now I'm singing. I got to get that long goatee back first. I started acting. I knew I wanted to be an actor when I was a young kid. So I used to watch The Twilight Zone. The first movie I ever watched was Night of the Living Dead,
Nice.
the 1967 version. And another movie that I'm quite fond of. It's very campy. Children shouldn't play with dead things. And when I was I was a big kid, so I started working the bars when I was 17 years old. My dad would let me go work clubs and bars as long as I kept my grades up, and I was playing football as well. So I hurt my back my senior season in football, like the third game in. And then I was like, what do I need high school for? I'm going to go work the bars because I'm making a lot of money and I'm going to become an actor. And of course, my dad said, if you don't graduate, I'm kicking you out of the house. So I went and graduated from some high school, a private school real quick, like in a couple months. And then I was, trying to go to college as well. But I was working the bars at night, and I went to acting school during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to be, I think, 20 years old, I got my first commercial agent. So that's, something like 36 years ago. That doesn't mean I got acting gigs right away, because it took a long time.
Right.
It probably took 2 years before I even got my first gig. And I was just so fed up with auditioning and not getting these things. And I think the first gig I ever got was that was union, it was a Tostitos commercial. And I even got cut out of it, but that's got me Taft-Hartley, which got me into the union. And, so I've been doing it a long time.
No,
Probably
awesome.
35 years legit.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
What was your first acting experience?
Where'd you all go? Oh, there you are. Yeah. My first, I you know what I did is I did it's a reenactment show. It was like, not America's Most Wanted, but it's something similar to it, which was a non-union thing. And I played some, redneck guy that went and I killed a psychic. I was mowing his lawn and doing his yard work, and then I killed him.
That is awesome.
And it's a funny story because they didn't have a picture. Usually they'll show me doing the reenactment, and then they'll flash a picture of the real guy, but they didn't have his picture for some reason. And so they cropped my headshot. And so a lady down the street who was probably 85 years old called my mom and says, "Your son's a killer."
I knew it was coming. Oh my God.
And I had to, my mom's like, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "Mom, I don't know. I just did a TV show that aired." And I'll go explain it to her. She's like, "Don't go down there. That lady will probably shoot you." So yeah. But that was, it was, it's a long process. If you, one of my suggestions for people who want to be actors is you got to get into acting class, and you got to give 110% in there, because you can fake it for so long. And then when you get an opportunity, like, you can be real good at auditioning or bullshit your way into something. Sorry if we cursed.
No, you're fine.
And you all of a sudden you're there and everybody's looking at you and you're like, "Oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing." So it's much better to be prepared. And even if you work with, even today, if I get lucky enough to get an audition for something big, I have a manager, a coach who does coaching with some big celebrities, and I will pay him my $100 and come over for a couple hours, and that's a discount. This guy's usually like $400 or $500 to go hang out with, but we ride some motorcycles together. So I'm lucky enough I go over there and work with him on it, just in the off chance that I can get that gig, So
Right.
Yeah. So how did you get involved into the horror industry?
Well, I wanted to be an actor because of the horror movies. The Twilight Zone, all the Romeros. Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie, 1978. Still is my favorite movie, even though I've been in some classic movies and remakes. Dawn of the Dead is definitely, I'm a big zombie guy. And I just knew that I wanted to be an actor, and from a young age. So, it may have taken me till I was 30 years old to really start getting a couple decent roles. And, in the meantime, I was very lucky enough that I was, 6'5", 330 pounds, and could throw people out of bars.
Yeah, that
There's a lot of famous guys. R.A. Mihailoff, who's in Texas Chainsaw 3, and we used to work bars and clubs together back when I was pretty young. And
that's awesome.
And then I just, I didn't get a real good horror part under makeup until I was in, 32, 33 years old, and that was Buffy or Angel. And
that must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Well, and I tell people, when a show's hot, when it's a hot show like that, like Angel, they'll have you in makeup and you'll be there for 18 hours. And, we get paid for 8 hours. Anything after that is like, double time, golden time, triple time, and all that other good stuff. So when you get on a hot show like that, and overtime is not a problem, because usually people are like, hey, we got to get these people out of here. Right. We don't want to pay the overtime. When they don't care about the overtime, that's when you start making some real good money. Mm-hmm. And it's all, you can see all the guys going, gosh, what are we, and then you always find a guy that actually knows the numbers. All right, we're in our 14th hour. What does that mean? How much money are we making on this thing? So
I want to know too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's obviously when you're younger, there's a lot of guys that still act that I go up against, but I'm a character actor and I'm a big guy, so you see the same guys over the years, and then by this time 30 years later, a lot of those guys aren't in it, but some of them still are, and I still, when we get an audition, COVID kind of screwed stuff up because then everything was self-tape, which I hate, because I'm much better in a room. Because I can BS. I may know that casting director. I may know the director. Before I go in for an audition, I would always look up who's directing that episode, who's the director is, who the producers are, just so on the off chance I would go look up that director. Maybe I know something he's done and I dug it, right. Or maybe I don't, but I'm going to pull it out of my ass anyways and say, hey, listen.
Some sort of commonality to build off of.
And I'm going to say, man, and I always don't, and I wouldn't pick their most popular thing. I'd pick some obscure thing and say, and I'd go watch it if I could. Whether it's good or bad, I'll say, I really like that thing you did in 1972. And he goes, oh my, really? I'm like, yeah. And so they go, wow, oh wow, okay. But you got to know how to bullshit. You got to know how to BS, and not do too much. Right. Because you can get in a room. What was that?
You only want to kiss their ass a little bit.
Yeah, because I used to go in and audition for Seinfeld quite a bit and never got anything. But you go in for a Seinfeld audition, and let's say you get a call back. When you go in the first time, it's going to be you and the casting director. They put you on tape. They can say you do your scene, and they go, maybe change it a little bit like this. Right. You change it, and they go, okay, great. And you hope they say, hey, we're going to call your agent. We'll see you Wednesday for a callback. When you go to the callback, let me just tell you this, on a Seinfeld thing, when it was in its heyday, you go in a room, there's 15 writers around a table, and there's Jerry Seinfeld at the end, and the casting director, and maybe some other people standing up. And they're all BS. First time I went in, they're all BS, and and you're like this, and the casting director's just like, relax, just chill out. And you're standing way down at the other end of the table, and finally Jerry Seinfeld goes, all right, so you're ready. And you'd be like, yeah, I'm ready. And all these people, 20 people are staring at you. You're like, holy crap. So, so the stuff, it can be intimidating.
Yes.
Oh, I can imagine.
But if you do it enough, and I've done it enough, then it becomes second nature. Plus, I also did some pro wrestling, so I got used to working a crowd of 1,000, working a crowd of 15,000. So once you can do that and manipulate a crowd like that, what's 2 to 15 people in a room? It
just comes naturally at that point.
The wrestling helped my acting tremendously. Just make me calmer to be able to BS with people in a room, and not be worried about what I say. So.
Not that it's any comparison, but I also work for a haunt. But it's pretty much the same thing. You go through fear camp and you work with your peers, and then they throw you to the wolves, and it's go time. And like you said, you got to learn the art of finesse and BS and know your consumers.
100%. I mean, as a kid, I worked 15, 16, maybe 14, 15, 16. I would go work at this place called the Factory of Nightmares. Mm-hmm. In Devonshire Downs, which is a place out in the San Fernando Valley in Northridge, California. Mm-hmm. Me and my best buddy would go in there, and it's strange, but one year I played the guy with the fake chainsaw running around. And you would think that 30 years later, 30 years, but 25, 26 years later, I was actually playing Leatherface. So it's just weird how things. You got to stay motivated, right? And you got to keep working. I've done a lot of different things, and I don't consider myself just an actor. I do voiceovers. I've been the voice of Monster Garage on Discovery Channel. I did it for 7 seasons. I hosted a drag racing show, not RuPaul drag racing, although I would.
You look
But
hot as
cars,
well.
but cars called Pastime. You know, the show Pastime going down the track. So, and I've done my own radio show. I do a podcast. So, if you're
What's your
going to be,
podcast?
it is called Shootin the Shizz with DK and the Schwag.
Ooh,
So we do it on StreamYard, and my partner John Henderson started it, and I came in as a guest, and then we just decided, hey, we'll keep doing this, and so we try to do it every Wednesday night if we can.
Oh,
He
that's
also
awesome.
does one with Beatrice Boppel, who was Freddy Krueger's mom, and I forget which Nightmare on Elm Street, but yeah. So for me, it's like you consistently just keep doing it. I also MC, so when Monster Garage was really popular, I was just the voice of the shows, the Big Schwag.
right.
And I used to call bike events. I call these people that run these bike events and car shows and say, do you know who I am? And the guy would be like, I don't know who you are. I said, well, do you have a kid? He goes, yeah. I said, ask your kid if he watches Monster Garage and knows who the Big Schwag is. And then he'd come back and go, yeah, my kid says you're the, yeah. And I said, what do you want? I said, well, let me come MC your show. So I would go and, get paid to go MC. I worked at Sturgis for a couple of years, and I worked at the Easy Rider Saloon, and that's a pain, but that's 11 days every. We leave at 12 o'clock. I got to be there by 12 o'clock the next day.
Right.
But you're introducing everybody on stage and yelling out the drink specials, and and we got a bike show tomorrow. So. That stuff's fun. I like to do the weekend events, so it's only a couple days. But
Right.
then I started doing the drag racing show. So then I'd go do a lot of drag races, and I still will go make a couple appearances a couple times a year at some drag strips. So, and now I also do, in Florida, Iron Horse Mud Ranch, which is a big, monster truck deal. Actually, not monster truck. What do we call them? Gosh, kill me. But yeah, mega truck. We call them mega trucks. So yeah, it's fun to do. You just gotta be, if you're gonna, like I said, be in entertainment, you gotta try everything. As long as you try everything, it may not all work.
Right.
I'm not the greatest guy when it comes to talking about the mega trucks and all that, and doing the mud rallies. But I work with a guy who knows it, so I just have to be second fiddle and just keep talking. The key is to anything, if you're going to be entertaining, is to be able to talk and not stop. Not stop. And if you do screw up, you screw up and you talk about it.
Right. You touched on the biker event. We actually have an event called Wetzel's here shortly coming up. It's a big biker event. It's a weekend event that we go to.
That is actually July 25th through the 28th, Wetzelland.
Where's that going to be?
Van Wert, Ohio.
Nice. Ohio's big on bikers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
It's a big event, and it's yeah. It'll be my first time going.
Yeah, if you were to Google it, you actually see that they have a lake in the shape of a Harley.
The Harley emblem.
It's really, really neat.
Very nice. I mean, some big ones. I worked at Harley Rendezvous in upstate New York, and that was, that's not kid friendly. So you don't bring the kids to that.
Neither is this. Neither is this.
Which there's something to be said, because it's in the Midwest you get more old school bikers. That's just the way it is. Like I go to Kansas City for Crypticon in 2 weeks, but there's also the Gustero Chopper Show, which I sometimes MC. And the Midwest is a whole different breed. The motorcycles, the people. It's a different biker than you get on the East Coast or the West Coast. I love it personally, but yeah, California, we can't do much fun stuff. They take it away, but we do have the Love Ride, which has been going on for years, and Glendale Harley Davidson and Santa Clarita Harley Davidson have been put that on for years, and that's a big deal. They'll get 20,000-30,000 people, and ZZ Top will be playing and all that stuff. So
excellent.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Oh, you touched on the bikers. You were also on a short stint at the Sons of Anarchy. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was so a year before Sons of Anarchy, I actually did a pilot for HBO called 1%, which I was so excited about, because I did ride with the Motorcycle Club at the time.
Right.
So I got hired as an actor, but I'd come to the set with my patch on my back, and and anytime there was a question, the producer would come over because he saw I was in a club, and he'd come over and he'd ask, "Hey, would you guys do this, or would you not do this?" I said, "Well, we wouldn't do that." Or, "If we're going to shake hands with another guy that's in a club, I'll take my glove off for a sign of respect," And then he said, "If we get the thing goes, I'm going to hire you as a producer, and you can keep your part," which I was so excited about.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, my present wife was on that show, and I had no idea.
Wow.
My present wife, my only wife. But so that was about a year and a half before, and then for some reason they got sued. It didn't work. HBO didn't put it out. Along comes Sons of Anarchy, and I auditioned, and I think I wore my patch to Sons of Anarchy as well. So they're like, "Oh, not only is he an actor, he's a real deal." So I get the part and play this guy Johnny Yates, a reformed sex offender,
Right.
and Kim Coates was a good friend of mine, so Kim was on the show, obviously, and it was a good, it was a great show. Nobody knew that show was going to be as big as it was, or in retrospect, I probably would have said, I want to wait for something bigger on the show, maybe get a reoccurring part on the show, which would have been tremendous. But that show is such a big show, and the fans were so incredibly, they're so gung-ho for that show. Even my little part I did, I still, when I go to conventions, I always make sure I bring 10 to 15 pictures from Sons of Anarchy just in case someone comes up and wants it. So great show, great people. Kim Suter is a great guy and a great producer, and he's just everything he touches turns to gold, which is good.
Yeah, I love that show when it was out.
Yeah, it was definitely a bingeful. It was
Binge
good.
worthy, yes, definitely.
So, the movie Crazies, how did it feel to be in it? And do you have any memories you might want to share?
No, I can just yeah, the Crazies, 2010.
All right, next question. Moving along.
Right.
It's a remake of a George Romero film, The Crazies. His movie that he did back in, I think it was the 70s, was more of a political thing. And I totally forgot about it. So when I went into audition for it, it's with a tremendous casting director, this guy, John Papsadera, who only casts big movies. So I was all excited, but I totally forgot what it was about. And when I did my scene, I was supposed to be like some truck driver on a phone talking to, and I did it like I was some kind of zombie. And then when I walked out, I was like, what the hell did I just do? That has nothing to do with, I was just like, I just blew that. But the director, this guy, Brett, what's his name? Breck Eisner. His father ran Disney for a while, Michael Eisner. So it was pretty cool. He liked it, what I did, and I got to have a really good part in it, playing this Jesse, this infected hunter that keeps getting a little more crazy till the end of the movie. Then I have a giant fight scene with Timothy Oliphant, yank him under a truck, have a big fight scene with him, and do a full burn, which which is pretty gnarly. So yeah, it was great to work on it. Timothy Oliphant was a really cool guy to work with. And then doing the full burn was pretty scary, but at least I can say I've done it, now.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And when you do stunt stuff like that, and as an actor, you get a stunt bump, what they call, so you might get an extra $2,500 for doing that.
Gotcha. So
you're like, oh wow, let's do some more burns,
right.
But it's not the
game on.
it's not the funnest thing to do because it's just scary,
It is. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, for sure.
You
But
went
you're
through
so
quite a
brave.
transformation in that on that. How long did it take for that transformation?
Yeah, so towards the ending of the movie, it would be about 3 hours worth of makeup and about an hour to take off.
Right.
So yeah, it'd get pretty gnarly because they put Rob Hall, who was our special effects guy, he passed away a couple of years ago, not with us, but they studied the effects of rabies and what happens when you get rabies. So we did a neck piece and so that's the first thing that goes on. Then there's probably 20 different other little patches, things that go on,
The
and then
prosthetics that they use.
the prosthetics, and then the airbrushing, and the whole bit, and then the eyes.
Right.
You know, the contacts you put in. We call them Michael Jackson contacts because he had these big contacts in Thriller, and that's kind of basically
the
what they
scleras.
were. And but you know, that movie got me the cover of Fangoria magazine, which
that was our next question.
That is our next question.
In our business, if you're a horror movie fan or you love horror movies, that's a big deal. Absolutely. So Rob Hall called me because they didn't like any of the pictures, and he sent him a picture of me in the makeup chair, and the guy, Tony Timpone, I think his name is. I'm pretty sure it's Tony. And he was the editor in chief of Fangoria, and he liked that picture. So all they did was crop everything out, and that is your picture on the cover of Fangoria. So
yes,
pretty awesome. Here's the story on that. I told the newsstand, the local newsstand, I said, I need like 100 copies of this. He goes, you need 100? I said, I need 100. Like an idiot. I'm not really, I'm forgetting that they're $9.80, a pop. And then the guy's like, I got the first 50. And I'm like, how much do I owe you? And I'm like, holy crap. Can you cancel those other 50? He goes, no. So it cost me enough.
Obviously, I mean, being on the cover of a magazine, it kind of like elevates you a little bit. How did that make you feel?
Well, it makes you feel good. Of course, everybody for Christmas got one of those signed. And I used to give them away to folks and send them to. I blew up a picture and gave it to walked into John Papsadera's office and said, make sure you give this to John and tell him thank you very much because he cast me in that. That's, that's how I got the gig. So
I'd have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, we could always do this lovely thing a little bit earlier. It doesn't have to be the 30-minute mark, does it?
No, we can do it early. Let's just go ahead and give it to him. Let's put him on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So do a little dance. No, I'm just playing. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do our halfway special little thing that we do during our podcasts. It's called FMK. Would you FMK? Would you happen to know what that stands for?
FMK. Full metal. I don't know.
No, you are way off.
No.
Frontal male. No.
What?
Frontal male.
No, I don't know.
Frontal male. Oh, wow. Okay.
Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, okay.
All right, Chaotica, shoot him with his options.
All right, your options for FMK. Your FMK options for fuck, marry, kill are as follows: Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes in Misery, or Glenn Close as Alex Forrest in Fatal Attraction, or Mallory Knox, Julia Lewis in Natural Born Killers. Who would you fuck, marry, kill?
Well, Glenn Close was pretty sexy.
And absolutely.
I would think if I was single and I was gonna have sex, it would probably be with her.
Right.
And although I'm a big Kathy Bates, but Kathy Bates is pretty rich. And just imagine all those acting gigs that she's had and everything. I'd probably marry her. And Juliette Lewis, as much as I adore her as an actress, I'd probably kill her.
Awesome. And there's your FMK, folks. Yeah.
I'd hit her with the sledgehammer.
That was good.
Very
good. That's a tough one. But you got to I'm looking at longevity, right?
Right.
Actually all of them have done very well in the movie business, but if I marry Kathy Bates doesn't mean I have to do anything with her.
This is true. Usually 30-minute in, we ask all our guests, an FMK question, give them questions, and sometimes they're very difficult.
Yes.
Well, normally I would say, the having sex and marrying would be out of it, because I married someone I love, so
right.
That's never,
Yeah, all hypothetical.
Yes, gotcha.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
If you could, would you do a shoot with the gorgeous girls? And would you be the killer or the victim?
Well, I'm married, so I would do the killing.
That's a safe.
I don't want. My wife is really good with swords.
So background.
I don't want to get her angry.
There you go.
That's fine.
There you
I don't want her to.
We like being killed.
Yeah.
It's a good way for us to incorporate our specialty, blood.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. Well, let's talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You want to talk about that?
Well, that was one of our next questions. You were part of the cast of the remake. You tell us about it.
Yes, please.
It's like you know our questions before
I know,
we
it's
ask
really
them.
weird.
I do. That's because I do my own podcast, so I know what's coming up. So I got cast as Leatherface, probably in late. Yeah, I mean, actually, it would have been early 2000. I want to say 2002 because our movie came out in 2003. So, big deal. I called like 100 people. Called R.A. Mihailov was the first guy I called, my buddy, and who played Leatherface before. Then called 1,000 people probably in 5 minutes. And then the casting director called back and said, "By the way, don't tell anybody."
Oh no!
I'm like, "Oh, that's great." But had 2 months. Was working my butt off in the gym because I wanted to be at the best physical shape I could be, and I thought I was in pretty good shape. But a couple days, I was there for a week, but the second full day of filming, I got heat stroke.
Oh no!
It was so hot in that costume, and we were in a house outside of Austin, in Texas. I think it was July or August. I just knew there's black mold in the ceiling of this place, and I was like, okay, and this is hot. And I kept dragging Eric Balfour across the floor, and eventually I think I fell, where I went to my knees and said, I got to take this mask off and get some air. And I went outside, drank 7 Gatorade, and I felt like I was okay. But when I got up, my muscles in my back tightened up. So what happens when you get heat stroke? I mean, your body needs water. We're made up. I don't know what the percentage of water is our body is, but your muscles need it. Your brain needs everything. Water is needed in your body.
Right.
So my back seized up. I finished the scene, which is the first kill you see in the movie. And the first time you see Leatherface, that's me with the sledgehammer dragging him across the floor and slamming the door shut. Somebody on the set, one of the crew, had a skateboard. And it's not that Eric Balfour is heavy. He's just very tall and lanky. So we put him on the skateboard, and now I'm dragging him across. It made it a little easier. But slamming that door was so hard when your back's out. I don't know, Eric, eRock, if your back has ever been out, but, you can barely even, sit down to use the bathroom. It was so tough.
Yeah,
and
back surgery, so yeah.
Yeah, so, I had about 3 days, and I just kept calling the transportation guy. "Hey, you pick anybody up?" No. "Pick anybody up?" No. On the third day, he's like, "I picked up this guy, big buff guy," and I was like, I knew that I was going home, and I did the knock at the door from the producer at the hotel. "I'm real sorry." I'm like, "I got it. I understand." So, so I didn't talk about it for many years. I mean, a week later, I was working in Mexico on a movie called Porta Vallarta Squeeze with Scott Glenn and Harvey Keitel and Scott Glenn. So that was kind of took my mind off it. Right. But I had to get rid of everything that was Texas Chainsaw in my house. And then I had probably, now if I think about it, I probably had $25,000 worth of cool stuff that I had collected over the years that I probably could have sold now, as being a Leatherface. But I didn't talk about it for years. The guy that replaced me did a tremendous job, and but no one knew that there was another guy. That's why they would start, when the magazines started talking about, they're like, "Oh, he's the lost Leatherface."
Yeah.
And then I eventually came to grips with it, and I was just like, look, a lot of people. There's many movies where they have different people in the movie. That Kane Hodder was a stunt double for my buddy R.A. Mihailov in Part 3. There's Doug Tate, who's a good friend of mine, was in Freddy vs. Jason. Mm-hmm. The lead actor, Ken Kersinger, I think his name is, went away for something. They needed another shot, so they brought Doug in to play Jason, where he's coming out of the water with Freddy's head. And so you know, you just I'm glad that I was a part of history, because there's very few guys. I can't 8 or maybe 8 guys. I think it was in a trivia once. How many people have played Leatherface? I was at some trivia game, and they were like, "Oh," and someone said the number. I'm like, "You're forgetting one." And then so yeah, it's fun. I mean, the fans are rabid. You know, horror movie fans are absolutely the greatest, along with pro wrestling fans.
Mhm.
And they're just even though, you know, I'm in the movie for 59 seconds, it's still a big deal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
it would.
it helps. You know, I'm the first time I never even knew that the trailer. Someone said, "Did you ever see the trailer?" I said, "No, I didn't even watch the movie until a couple of years ago, because I was just embarrassed." And I watched the trailer. I'm like, "Holy crap, that's me in the trailer!"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, this is, you know, cool." So, you know, 2003 remake was a big deal for a lot of people. It was probably the scariest and scariest Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever made. Marcus Nispel, our director, was a tremendous guy. Did a really good job. He also directed the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th with Derek Mears, who's a great actor and great guy. And, you know, just lucky I got to play the guy, and you know, I'm glad that we get to go to a lot of these conventions now because of it.
Hell
You
yeah!
mentioned-
And
Go ahead.
go ahead. No.
You mentioned that you got the first kill. Can you tell me what you used for your first kill?
Well, I used a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you can see one behind me on the.
I can see it. It's
Yeah, there's one in there. So what I do is, because I never use the chain. There it is, right there.
Oh yeah. You can see it right
Because
there.
I never used the chainsaw.
Oh wow!
You know, I found a guy, Scared City Productions, a guy named Scott. Oh, that's where I'm going to be. I'll be in Arkansas for his show, Hiawatha Nation Scared City Productions in Paragould, Arkansas, July 12th and 13th. And he makes props for, you know, haunts and actors and whatnot. And he got a hold of me and said, "Hey, you know, I make a good sledgehammer." And we used to get them. I used to get them, and he'd ship them to. In fact, he's making some today for me, for finishing up a batch for me for Kansas City Crypticon next week, and he'll ship them to the hotel. And but then we started doing the bloody sledgehammers too, because I'm like, "Well, can we put blood on them?" He goes, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And I just leave a little space to sign,
right.
you know, a little space to sign on them, and so it's very cool. And yeah, it's different. Because it's, you know, everybody can. I mean, I'm not that I won't sign a chainsaw. I just let people know that was not me that does all the chainsaw work.
Yeah.
I want to keep it completely transparent. And
Right.
But our fans are great. As I said, you know, especially the Saws family. That's how, you know, the people love it. They love it, and it's a big deal. And I'm just happy that I got to be a little piece of it. So.
Right.
Yeah, I know you mentioned it a couple times about pro wrestling. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Do you have a background in pro wrestling?
Yeah, you know, so another thing that I grew up loving was pro wrestling. So, I mean, I was the biggest, you know, the Road Warriors, Ric Flair.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was even into Hulk Hogan for a while until I met the guy. Changed my mind. But yeah, a lot of friends in the business. At like 30, I think I was having, you know, 30 years old. I was working bars. I wasn't getting a lot of acting work. I was just it was like, you know, my friend is a pro wrestler, an older pro wrestler, Rick Drazen. He's actually the guy that created the symbol for Gold's Gym, if you ever look at that. And he used to work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger and was an early wrestler in the business in Hollywood, and used to hang out at, you know, Venice Beach, and he was a really good guy. But he was still wrestling as he got older. And I said, "Rick, let me manage you. I think I can be a pro wrestling manager." And he goes, "Okay, let's go do it." You know, and I just went down to this school, and they had a you know, like a Friday night show, and got in there and did it and loved it. And I was doing Monster Garage at the time, so I just started doing Monster Garage. So I was making a little bit of money and still doing the bouncing and auditioning. And the promoter of that company, called Ultimate Pro Wrestling, said, "Hey, you want to do this?" I said, I told him I don't need any money. I make my own money, but I love this, so I'd love to try it out, see what happens. And I had to train. So even if you want to be a manager, you got to train to be a pro wrestler.
Right.
I realized after a few bloody noses and, I'm like, man, and I wrestled one or two times. And I'm like, this is not for me. But if you can, I was like a giant Bobby the Brain Heenan mixed with, Jimmy Hart, and I had the Schwag on. I've met Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Yeah, really great guy.
Oh,
Nice guy.
I know, he's my favorite.
He's been battling cancer over the last couple of years, but I think he's pulled through, and he's a really good guy, really good for the business. But I started working we were like a minor leagues for the WWF at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I helped start guys like John Cena, Samoa Joe, and a whole bunch of other guys that obviously are very famous now. And
right.
I did it for 5 or 6 years, and then I just realized, the WWF thought I was too big.
Mm-hmm.
I was bigger than some of the wrestlers. So how can you be a manager?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, because I would, if you Google Big Schwag and pro wrestling, there's something that comes up, says like the Big Schwag's last match, and I got to work with a lot of cool people.
Right.
Diamond Dallas Page, Chavo Guerrero, Kurt Angle, the Road Warriors, the Lita and the Hardy Boys. So I got to work with some cool people because they would come to when we do our shows, we would wrestle maybe in front of 1,000 people at a concert hall thing. And the WWF would always send somebody cool that was on their roster. So people would go, oh, the Hardy Boys are going to be there. So, and I got to work with Triple H. Triple H dropped me gave me a pedigree in the middle of the ring. And, China gave me a low blow. Now, let me tell you something. Triple H at the time I look him dead in the eye, but he was so jacked.
Yeah.
He was so big, and I was like, oh, my God. And I'd never taken a pedigree, so I had to talk to a guy, Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, who is now a booker for AEW. Great guy. And I said, I don't even know how to take a pedigree. What am I going to do? And he explained it to me, and, went out there and did my thing, and Triple H gave me a punch and knocked me down and brought me in the middle of the ring and did the pedigree on me, which is, so it was just another thing that I like I said, I always I always want to do different things. If I like it, I'm going to try it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even though I should have gotten better shape for that, and I should have just kept. But when you realize that you're not going to make any money, finally, I was like, all right, look, I'm not going to get called up. So once in a while, I would manage a few guys here and there. I think I did it 2 years ago, and I have a buddy that's in Kentucky. Oh, he's in Ohio, actually. Evil Nate. He wrestles, but he's from Kentucky, but he wrestles out there in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And, I may go manage him in October at Scarefest. And if you go to scarefest.com in Lexington, Kentucky.
We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
Oh, yeah. So that's a big deal. So I think they're going to have wrestling. I think my buddy's going to wrestle Evil Nate. So he comes out with he's got 2, and his girlfriend's got 1 of these, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, the large chainsaw says the saw's family across it, which are incredibly heavy.
Right.
So you got to be in real good shape to walk around with that, but he comes down to the ring with it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I love the business. It's just another, and that's really, because sometimes, this is how you learn how to do improv, because sometimes there'll be, the ring will break or something, or a wrestler gets hurt and they need to stall. They say, Schwag, go out there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I bring like one of my guys that drunk
and that artistry of bullshit, like you said.
Yeah, and that's it. So you just go out there and you make fun of the crowd or something. And,
right.
You do something. And so, but yeah, it was fun. I at least when I die, I can say that I've tried more than most.
Right.
And I've excelled at a lot. I know, like one of those guys, I know a little bit about everything.
Masterman.
So it's better to know a little bit about a lot than just know a few things, so.
Definitely. So can you tell me, you talked about the Monster Garage, do you have any like favorite moments or funny moments or anything like that during those
Oh yeah. Here, let me just check this real quick here while these people are blowing me up. Let me try to get rid of them.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So Monster Garage was great because I did a document. Did we say Monster Garage?
Yes.
Okay, so I did a documentary called Wrestling School for Discovery Channel.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of it's going around right now on Facebook and the internet because there's John Cena's in it, where he's the first day in wrestling school, and I'm talking to him about what's going to happen, in wrestling school. You can get hurt.
Of course.
You're always going to bloody lips. You may get a broken nose. Who knows? But it happens, and you're going to have to sign a release. And we work real close with the WWF, which we did.
Right.
So that I did that documentary, and that producer, his name was Tom Beers, THOM Beers, and he is a guy who created Monster Garage, Deadliest Catch, Ice Road Truckers. I mean, Bering Sea Gold. I mean, and the Deadliest Catch has been on, I don't know, 25 years.
I know.
So I just always stayed his friend. I would stop by his office. Hey, Schwag. One day he said, hey, I got a show about this guy. It's going to be called Monster Garage. It's about this guy, Jesse James. I said, yeah, he's a bike builder. I know who he is. Never met him before, but I knew who he was because he was a hot guy on the West Coast building bikes. I want you to do your wrestling voice for me, and we'll figure something out. Like, okay, does it pay? And he goes, yeah. I said, let's go. I'm ready to do it. So I got my opportunity and to do it. And the first 5 or 6 episodes, me and this other guy, Frankie Whiteside, we used to have to watch, which was so terrible. We'd have to watch it, watch like a couple minutes and then try to figure something the same, all right, let's do this. Write this down and then keep going forward, then reverse it again. And it would just take hours to do maybe an intro. We would do an intro, the middle, and an outro, and it just take forever. And finally, I think after 6 or 7 episodes, they let the producers write it.
Right.
And then we just had to get in there, and I just had to do, and they would say, all right, Schwag, give me full Schwag, or give me medium Schwag, or give me just, little Schwag. and doing the voiceovers was great. Like I said, it's the first time I really got a lot of exposure for this alter ego of mine. And, I tried to brand it because for the wrestling, and I asked Tom, I said, well, can I call myself Big Schwag? Hey, it's the Big Schwag. We're in Long Beach, California. He goes, okay. All Discovery Channel might say no, but they never did. And so it was fun. I mean, it gave me a lot of exposure. A couple of the things were, Jesse's appendix burst one day. So they were like, hey, where are you? I said, I'm at home. Can you be here in an hour? I'm like, yeah. I said, okay, you gotta fill in. Jesse's hurt. I'm like, oh, I get to be on camera, which was great. Sometimes I did some funny skits for them on camera, but this time I was going to be able to host. And I think I did it a couple times. He had another problem one time and they needed me to fill in, and it was great. And I did a lot of stuff for Discovery and original productions, which was Tom Beers' company. And I got to host some show called Monster Nation, 40 episodes of it. And, it gave me the chops for being able to host other shows like the drag racing show I did. And I can go host anything, right? It doesn't matter what it's about. It doesn't matter. I could be next to RuPaul and I could host her show. It doesn't matter because a lot of that comes from pro wrestling. A lot of that comes to working the camera, right? So when I started doing Pastime, this drag racing show, I'd always turn to the camera and they'd go, what are you doing? I said, I'm talking to the people at home. Just let me do it. Trust me. And it worked because I would interview the people. Then I'd talk to the camera a little bit going, these guys don't know what they're doing, do they? Or I'd say, look at someone, and that came from pro wrestling because as a pro wrestler, you better be the best wrestler there is if you can't talk.
Yeah.
And you gotta find that camera.
Right.
Then as we got into Pastime, a year or two into, they'd bring the editor out, the editor who puts the shows together, and he'd like, Schwag, talk to the boom camera when we come back, or I'd come in off the boom camera and be like, hey, we're going, whatever. And it's fun. So yeah, there's not much that I can't host. And it's fun. So
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, I still get nervous, of course, but I mean, like I said, the whole thing is just keep talking. And, I used to make fun of myself that I drove a Honda Element and I was diabetic. So I used to say that all the time. And I remember I go through airports and the guy go, "Hey, you drive that Honda Element and you're diabetic." I'm like, "That's me." That's And then it came, after a couple of years, the producer's like, "All right, stop talking about your car and your diabetes." And I'd be like, "Okay."
Hilarious.
That's funny. I love it.
So I know you've been to a lot of conventions. Are there any that are your favorite?
Oh, well, Scarefest is Scarefest.
Yeah.
Scarefest. Have you ever been to Scarefest?
Yes.
Yep.
It's
Fun.
It's a one of a kind deal. I mean, it's so big. It's so cool. The people that run it are so nice. Scarefestweekend.com, by the way, folks.
Yeah.
They bring in the most guests ever. And you would think that sometimes you do a convention where they have too many guests. And you're like, there's just not enough people here to, if you're a guest signing, I'm like, man, I'm not going to make any money. There's too many people to choose from.
Right.
Scarefest brings in like 20,000 people over 3 days. It's so crazy.
It is.
It's funny. Let's say they have 10 cash machines in that building. They're changing those cash machines out like 4 times during the weekend.
Yeah, I've seen it.
He has to bring in a private company because the banks ain't open on the weekend. They have to bring in a private company to change it because so many people are there.
Yeah.
Getting money to buy stuff, to get autographs. The vendors are second to none there. I mean, I like going to conventions. Me and Bob Elmore. Bob Elmore was in part 2. There's Bill Johnson, Bob Elmore, and Texas Chainsaw Part 2. Bob Elmore and me like to walk around like an hour or 2 before the convention because we go look at all what the vendors have.
Yes.
I'm still
You
a
gotta check
fan.
out the Gorgeous Girls next time.
Yes.
Well, are you going to have a booth?
Yes,
do.
we always do.
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to find you then. But yeah, it's the Scarefest is one. Horror Hound Cincinnati.
Yep.
Another just tremendous show.
That's one of my favorites too. Yeah.
Creep IE in Ontario, California. That's a brand new show. They're like in their 3rd year. Great. I just did Monster Palooza in Pasadena, California, which has been around a long time. Tremendous. I go do Frightmare in the Falls in Canada on the Niagara Falls side.
Ooh.
And that's just a tremendous show. Now, there's tons of other shows that are great. Those are just some of the giant ones, that are great. Sometimes the small shows are just as fun. I mean, for me, it's fun. My wife doesn't mind me getting out of the house, gives her a break for the weekend. So, yeah. But there's tremendous one. I mean, I'm going to London Film and Comic-Con July 4th weekend. Me and my wife are going. And I've never been to that, but I heard it's amazing. Good promoters over there. And, I couldn't get my flight taken care of. And I finally asked somebody, I said, who do I talk to? And they said, oh, here's a girl who handles the flights. And then one day, wham, got my flight dealt with. I was like, holy crap, this is great.
Right.
So, and then I'm also doing HorrorCon Scotland or Scotland HorrorCon. I want to make sure I say that right. But yeah, so I'm going to Scotland, which is just
That's incredible.
I'm so stoked. HorrorCon Scotland, yeah, in Glasgow. So I'm going for 1 day. January, so June, July, August. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And getting to do some of this overseas stuff. I was just in Canada 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, with Robert Patrick, from T-1000, from Terminator 2, and all the movies and TV shows he's done. We did Niagara Falls Comic-Con, which was great. And it's just, there's some people I love to do shows with. I love getting out there and hanging out with folks. Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, she's awesome.
Felissa's amazing and has helped me get into a few shows that I haven't been able to get into. And, we got a great manager, the Convention All-Stars, Sean Clark. He, gets me into some of the bigger cons, which I appreciate. And it's a great thing. The con family, the con life, as we call it,
Absolutely.
it's a big deal, because if you're not getting acting work, or some people were in a movie 30 years ago and they don't act anymore, and this is a way for them to, I wanted to do a TV show about it, because sometimes these people are just, I'm just being honest, they're just whacked out of their minds, but they go to a convention and they might get laid that weekend. They might get some money. They might,
get lucky after 30-something years.
They are. Look at that. They live for that. And that's.
For sure.
And if I was single, I can't tell you that I wouldn't be like, hey, but
One of the small conventions that we attend, is called the Cinema Wasteland, and they actually focus on those movies.
April. Hold on. Let me just tell you when that is. Cinema Wasteland 2025.
Yeah, like
they do an October show, but the April show, I will be there. So
oh my God, that's awesome!
Yeah. So we just confirmed that yesterday by email, and I said, hey, I just want to make sure that next year I can come. He goes, yeah, you're in. You're the first guest we're going to announce. So
awesome.
I am very excited, because Cinema Wasteland is a big deal. It's a fun time. I'm so excited.
All the people there are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The people that run it are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's let us actually get the one-on-one with certain celebrities, and we've never been able to conversate with them for so long. It's been wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I think, hold on, let me make sure I say his name right. I believe it's Ken Kish who runs it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've never been there. I've been, and up until, I'll be honest with you, up until a couple of years ago, because, I'd done a convention maybe 20 years ago. I did a convention, and I didn't know, I had absolutely no idea how to work a convention or be nice to people or all that. But I watch, here we go. Let me get this real quick. Ken. So Ken, who runs Cinema Wasteland, he's such a nice guy. And listen, some promoters are not nice. It's just the way it is. They are not. Ken was hey, Ken, I'd really love to come do your show. I hear so much about it. And he tried to get me for October, and I was booked. And he says, well, if not October, let's do next year. And I was so excited that, maybe I shouldn't even say it, but, I already did. So, but I'm very lucky and blessed to be able to do that. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's
So we have the opportunity to see you 2 more times.
That's right. We're going to see October and April. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, and 2 great shows, right? I've never been to Cinema Wasteland, but I've had tons of my friends have, and I'm so excited. Here's one of the things, and this is some advice too for people, even like you guys self, because you go do the conventions, you set up tables. I used to watch Bill Moseley.
Oh, I love him so much.
I would watch Felissa Rose.
Yes.
I'd watch Doug Jones and some other folks who are actors. And I watch how they deal with the crowd. And they make everybody feel special. Doesn't matter who. If you see the folks from the Scream, if you see these folks that are Matthew Lillard,
Kane Hodder
Pete Ulrich,
a lot.
Kane's great as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you watch these people, and like the Scream phenomenon is so big right now. If you go to conventions, there's literally, thousands and thousands of people will line up to get autographs.
Of all ages.
And then this amount, and people like Lillard and Skeet, they'll give you, it's like sometimes you got to go because there's 300 people in line, but they give you that extra couple of minutes.
They do.
Which makes their wait in lines huge. Lee Waddell is a good friend of mine. He's the original Ghostface killer. He's the first time you see Ghostface in the Scream, that's him. He kills, what's her name? Drew Barrymore and someone else. And we just did a movie together, Skate to Hell. Lee is transitioning from a stuntman to an actor now. And he's doing great. He's another convention all-star guy. Jamie Kennedy. So funny. What was that?
I still want to meet him.
So Jamie is I did 2 episodes of the Jamie Kennedy Experience years ago. And throughout doing the conventions, I've gotten to rekindle, say, hey, buddy. And he goes, oh, my God, yeah, we did this, the yoga instructor, you were a construction worker. And he's such a nice guy. We were just in Canada together, and he's such a good guy that it's great to, some of these people I'm fans of, so
Right.
I'm like a fanboy, but yeah.
How could you not be?
Yeah, but I'm really excited about Cinema Wasteland. So
I'm so.
there's a couple other things next year.
About that.
I figured you knew nothing about it.
Come on, man. It's my business. I have to know about it.
Excellent. I'm glad. That's
so you got to know this stuff. There's a good one coming up. I'm trying to think so I know where you guys. You're in Ohio.
Yeah,
correct.
So so I do New Jersey's far, probably far.
No, that's not too bad.
New Jersey HorrorCon and Film Festival. I'm doing that. That's a nice show to go do. I'm real excited. Felissa Rose got me in there, so we're going to be there August 9th, 10th, and 11th. Huge lineup too. Mm-hmm. That's another show where people come in where you get a good amount of people coming in there, and it'd be great for the gorgeous girls to have a table. That's obviously,
right.
That's a good place, and we're just very blessed. Right now it's funny because you have to book a year out on a lot of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I look at they understand if you get acting work, because that comes first for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But 20 conventions a year, I'm probably good for. I mean, I've probably done 25 this year. When it comes down to it, it'll be close to it.
That's incredible.
But it's great. It's it's the con life. It's pretty awesome, and I
Where
get to
else
see.
Do you go to meet somebody like Lou Gossett Jr. and Chris Jericho and and some musician like Phil Anselmo. I mean, you don't get that opportunity very much.
Yeah, Chris Jericho was just with us in Canada for a day.
Yeah,
he
stopped by our booth. I think it was sometime. What was it?
Scarefest.
Scarefest. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You know who also was at Scarefest cruising around with Steve Zahn?
Really?
Yeah, no one knew it. Here he's cruising around, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's Steve Zahn!" I think he has a place. Was that Horror Hound or was that I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, it was either Horror Hound or it was Scarefest, but I think it was. Look at those people are all fans as well. I mean, who's the director of Iron Man?
Having a booth ourselves, and you got, all kinds of people going by, and then all of a sudden you're saying, did you just see who walked by? It's
right.
We're all starstruck sometimes.
So at Monsterpalooza, and someone told me, he said, hey, Jon Favreau, he always comes to this, obviously was in Swingers, and then he's directed everything. Mm-hmm. Good actor and great director.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man and a few other things, big movies. So they're like, Jon Favreau likes to get there early and go check out the vendors. And I'm like, oh, I want to meet Jon Favreau and say hello and say, hey, John, put me in your movie.
Right.
And sure enough, he was there and I missed him. And he was walking around 2 hours before buying a whole bunch of stuff. And then he got out of there.
Aww.
So these people are big fans, mm-hmm. So it's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Your lifestyle is very exciting. All the traveling and all the experience that you have under your belt.
I don't know if it's exciting. It's
well, it sounds like it.
It sounds exciting, but look, I can put a spin on everything. Sometimes it's work. There's nothing worse.
Of course.
There's nothing worse than sitting at a place and not getting nobody coming up, and you have to grind. It's called the grind. You're grinding and. There's parlor tricks, as we say, you can do. Oh, man, I see a guy wearing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt or something. Hey, let me see that shirt. That's, and I hate doing that.
Right.
Because that gets them over. You want to get them over to your table.
Right.
Yeah, we know all about it.
know all about that because we got
but you girls can go like this. Hey, how are you? Hey.
That don't always work.
Though.
I can't do that.
All right.
Can't do too much.
Maybe eRock can, but I'm not taking my shirt off. So
We
Yeah,
actually have a spin wheel on our table, and it's actually the Friday the 13th mask, and Kane Hodder signed it.
oh yeah,
And we basically say, come take a spin with the gorgeous girls, $5 and $10 guarantees you a win every time. So it's our kind of our spiel, and we say it all day long, and it's our biggest draw to get people to come to the table.
of course. But that's not parlor tricks. That's pretty cool. That's something that's cool. You know, you learn if you do the conventions when it's just dead, you just start grasping at straws, going, "Gosh, you know."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of times you have a guarantee. You know, most of us will have a guarantee. So in case it's just a terrible con or it's a first time con,
Right.
you just think, look at, I have a guarantee. If I don't sell enough stuff to make that,
Yeah,
you know, you gotta compensate for it, and it's a gamble. Some people won't give you a guarantee, but I also know at some of the big shows, I don't need a guarantee. I don't need a guarantee at Scarefest. I'm going to crush it.
Right.
And this year, and let me tell you something about this year. So this year, it's the killers year, right? So they talked about it last year to me. He's like, we're going to bring in all the killers. So they're bringing in 6 Leatherfaces. They're bringing in like 6 Jasons, 6 Michaels. I mean, they're bringing in so many people. This will be probably the first time and last time you'll be able to see this many Leatherfaces.
Oh shit!
And probably get a picture with all of us. I'm sure that's going to be a perk.
That will be
Not a perk, but that's going to be one of the things on the to get. I always do full Leatherface photo ops and all this stuff. A CJ Graham from Friday the 13th, 6 I believe. He always does the full Jason photo ops. Nick, I love CJ Graham and Tom Matthews from Friday the 13th Part 6 and Return of the Living Dead. These are guys that I see on the road a lot. And Tom Matthews is I think next year is their 40th anniversary of Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, sweet.
So they're going to be in high demand,
Right.
Last year was our 20th of my movie, and this year is the 50th anniversary of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So,
woohoo!
Yeah.
Exciting.
It's hard to believe it's been that long.
I know.
You were 5. You were what, 6, 7 years old then? eRock?
No. No. I wish.
You weren't even born in 74, were you?
Who?
No, not yet. Not too far away.
I was born in 72.
I was born in 67. We won't even ask the widow.
Yeah, don't ask me. Please.
All right, yeah. But
my husband was born in 69.
All right, I've run out of breath. What do you got? Last questions for me before I.
All right. So one last question I want to ask you: what is your favorite horror movie?
What is what?
Your favorite horror movie?
It would probably have to be Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 version. I like Phantasm.
I do love that one.
I love Halloween. I mean, these are probably in my top 5. It's going to be Dawn of the Dead, Halloween, Phantasm. I mean, I love The Fog.
Yeah.
The Thing. Oh, wow. I mean, a lot of people don't consider The Thing a horror movie.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, that's just it's just such a good movie. Practical effects, right? No CGI.
No CGI. Yeah.
I mean, that's so. I mean, such good stuff. Escape from New York, even though that's not a horror movie.
Favorite gore scene, most memorable gore scene to you from a movie? Lots of blood, the wow factor.
I mean, it would probably have to be something in Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead. There's an ending at the ending. Bub, who plays the zombie, it's an ex-military guy, shoots the dude, and he's on the ground, and the door opens, and all these zombies tear him apart.
Yeah.
As he's still talking, and they're pulling his stomach, and it's just, it's there's tons. I don't know. There's just so much. I mean, I love Zombie, Fulci's Zombie.
Oh, I do
There's
too. I
There's
love
you know, where the girl gets the splinter through the eye.
Yeah.
Dead and Buried. If you've never seen Dead and Buried, go watch Dead and Buried. There's another scene where, that Dead and Buried is such a underrated movie that a lot of people should know about it. But
what year?
yeah, go watch it. Go watch. I don't know when Dead and Buried came out, but 80s probably,
Okay.
early 90s. From the creators of Alien comes Dead and Buried.
Nice.
You'll love it.
Yeah, I'll
Robert
definitely check
Englund's in it. One of Robert Englund's in it, and just a great cast and just a smart horror movie. You're like, oh, but the scenes are pretty gruesome. And a girl, they didn't kill this guy. They burned him in a car, and they didn't kill him. So she dresses up as a nurse, and he is so burnt. All he has is he's all covered. All he has is his one eye.
Yeah.
And she comes in. Oh, Freddie, how are you? And he goes, uh-oh. And you can see the monitor start. His heart rate is going up, and she takes this giant needle and goes right into his eye.
Nice, gnarly. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's just one of the kills in that movie. So, Dead and Buried is a good sleeper. Dead and Buried would be in my top 20 horror flicks of all time. And I think it should be a remake.
All right.
Check that out.
Yep, I'm definitely checking that one out. All right, guys, we are wrapping it up. Episode 16 of the Gore Horror Hour with the big Schwag guy over here, Brett. I cannot thank you
an honor
for letting us interview you today. Seriously, thank you.
Wow, listen, my pleasure. I love bullshitting with folks, and we had a good time, and we get to talk the business that we all love. So
absolutely.
When I do meet you, will you please put a little bit more clothes on eRock there, just so?
Oh, definitely.
I'm just not easy.
Wow, really?
We don't want the ladies going crazy at Scarefest. We don't want,
I don't know. Brandon and Nicole got to keep me on the wrap sometimes.
Cinema Wasteland. We don't want the people freaking out and the stampede towards the booth. And
no, we'll make them save it for Wetzelland.
Yeah, we'll make them.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
If folks want to watch this, where do they go?
Our podcast. Want to watch the podcast?
Yeah. Yes. We're gonna repeat this?
You caught her off guard. She didn't know what to say.
I'm sorry.
Is it gonna be on your Facebook page?
Yeah, it'll be on our Facebook and our YouTube.
On our Facebook site, you'll go to the Gore Horror Hour, and you can click on the link. On our YouTube, the Gore Horror Hour YouTube as well. Like I said, there's you'll have all the but this wonderful one with the big Schwag here is going to be up there on, when is it, Monday?
It'll be this a week from today.
Yep.
So yeah.
Okay.
Monday.
Cool.
And let's remind our viewers of your podcast. What was it? Shootin the Shizz?
Shootin the Shizz with DK and the Schwag. You can Doomsday. You can look on Facebook. Let me just. I should even look just to make sure.
Saying you guys are laughing at me. Okay.
I'm trying to remember what our page is.
He's just making you feel good.
Oh.
Yes. No. Doomsday's Crypt page. That's Doomsday's, and Crypt is KRYPT page, and you can get on there and you can find out all the cool stuff we're doing, and see where my partner, John, because we do a lot of conventions together. He's got booths where he works with a lot of different artists, mask makers, and stuff like that. So he's got a tremendous. He'll buy up 3 spaces at a convention and just lay them out, and sometimes I'll sit and sign at the table as well. But Doomsday's Crypt page on Facebook, and it's great. And we appreciate you all coming on and listening. And once again, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure. All right, guys, that's episode 16. We'll see you next time on the Gore Horror Hour. I'm Absinthe Widow.
eRock.
Chaotica.
Big Schwag.
Love ya. Bye-bye.